And
I'm very happy to have Claire here tonight. I spent part of the afternoon reaching out to additional people in the community that I was gradually remembering might want to know about this event, because I think I hope in the future that in Latah County we can do something like what the Community Action Center is doing, with having some way to take food to people who can't afford to come to where the food is. And so I just think that's really important. And so I want our community to learn from what the Community Action Center is doing to get ideas for how we can do better. So, and I really enjoyed my previous conversations with Claire, so I'm looking forward to hearing from her. Over to you, Kath.
okay, very good. Well, I think we should go ahead and get started. It's a few minutes after 6, and this is being recorded so that we can put it up on our website in a week or so, within the week or so. We try to have a speaker on the second Wednesday of every month, with maybe a break or field tours in the summer. It kind of varies a little bit there, but people like to be outside in the summer. And we have a gorgeous, almost summer evening today here in the Palouse. And so I'm really pleased that we have Claire MacPherson to speak with us, and she's with Community Action Center of Whitman County. And she's going to talk about their community food programs. And while she's talking, I'll monitor the chat. So if you have a question that comes up, go ahead and put it in the chat. Sometimes Zoom is a little clunky for people trying to ask questions real time because of the little bit of lag time. And maybe I'll jump in if it's a burning question, and we definitely will have time for questions at the end. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claire.
All right. Hello, everyone. Like Kathy said, I am Claire MacPherson. I am the food bank gardener and mobile farm stand specialist for Community Action Center of Whitman County, which is over in Pullman, our headquarters there, or our office, I should say. And yes, I'm going to be talking about our community food efforts. My coworkers helped name this Harvesting Hope. It seemed fitting. We're working with a lot of different programs to bring fresh and local produce to the community. And it sounds like there might be some confusion, but our mobile farm stand actually does go into Latah County as well. So we are still expanding very much into that, and I'll get into that later, but there's no need to reinvent the wheel because our program is going to be visiting Latah County as well. So with that, I am going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to start by talking about Community Action Center in general. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with what we do or who we are, but I know that I wasn't when I started working for them. So I wanted to start with our mission, which is moving people and communities to a positive future throughout Whitman County. And to elaborate on that a little bit more, for us, this really means promoting the stability and self-reliance of people with low to moderate incomes. We want to be like a stepping stool to help people get back on their feet. And we do that through a lot of different programs. But I want to start with a really cheesy video, but it does help kind of show Community Action Center as a whole if you're completely unfamiliar. So it's just a few minutes, but it's a good little introduction into who we are.
"30 years ago, Whitman County faced the harsh reality that our communities were failing some of our most vulnerable residents. Community Action Center was founded in 1988 to address the problem of safe and affordable housing. Soon people were also asking for practical life skills to move out of poverty. Recognizing that hunger is a major barrier to success in school or on the job, the Community Food Bank was launched to make sure families had enough to eat as they work towards self-sufficiency. Today, 1 in 5 Whitman County residents cannot consistently afford healthy food. Hunger among children is even higher, with 1 in 4 struggling to eat well. Cooking and gardening classes, food bank gardens and hydroponics, and the community kitchen help to reduce hunger and ensure that better food choices are more available to more people. Residents also continue to struggle to pay for safe, affordable housing. Community Action Center offers housing solutions for individuals exiting homelessness, for working people with low incomes, for seniors, and for people with disabilities. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, or Section 8, makes housing more affordable with rental assistance, while at the same time investing over $1.5 million back into the local economy each year. For 30 years and today, Community Action is here to help. If you need help or want to help, please visit our website, cacwhitman.org.
Okay, so hopefully that kind of gives you a better understanding of what we are. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on our programs. So we offer a lot at Community Action Center. We like to call ourselves a one-stop shop. You can get a little bit of everything with us. So these are all of our different kind of departments / programs down here on the bottom of this slide. So our energy assistance program helps with electricity bills, gas or utilities, water assistance. So if you get behind on those bills, we can help you get caught up. We can also help with shutoff notices, preventing that from happening. So that is the energy program. We also have our weatherization program, which helps with energy conservation improvements. So we could help you insulate your attic or your heating ducts or your crawl spaces. We can replace a furnace or a water heater. We could add weather stripping in your house. This is pretty important in our region. As I'm sure most of you know, there's a lot of old houses. So this program is designed to help reduce energy consumption and thus reduce your utility bills. And then we have our Section 8 housing department, which is a housing choice voucher program. The goal of that is to make safe rental housing affordable for people with disabilities and the elderly. And basically how that works is if you get a voucher, you pay somewhere between 30 and 40% of your income for rent, and then the rest is subsidized. And that's a big program run by the government and managed from Spokane, but we have a couple people on staff that help with that for Whitman County. Then we have our rental properties. So Community Action Center owns 8 total properties, I believe, in Pullman, in Palouse, and in Tico. And those are affordable housing solutions for a variety of different people. And then we have our housing solutions department, which during the pandemic was helping with past due rent bills. But we also help with emergency shelter situations. So we can provide motel vouchers or bus passes to Spokane, since Whitman County doesn't have a homeless shelter. We can also do eviction prevention or move-in assistance, so help with a deposit or first and last month's rent. And then we also have the transitional housing program to help people get established in a new place. And that brings us to community food, which is where I fall into and where I know the most about. So probably can't answer a lot of questions about the other programs, but if it's related to the community food programs, I can probably answer a question. So in the community food umbrella, we have our food bank, which is probably what we as an agency are best known for. Unlike all the other programs, which you have to be a resident of Whitman County to get assistance, our food bank is open to anyone. It doesn't matter where you live. You don't have to prove anything to go there. You don't have to show you meet income requirements. You don't have to prove you're a resident or a citizen. You can just go and get food, no questions asked. And then also in the community food umbrella, we have our gardens, we have our hydroponic system, we have our mobile farm stand, and our commercial kitchen. And I'm going to talk a lot more about the gardens, the hydroponics, and the mobile farm stand, but I won't really be covering the commercial kitchen. Essentially what it is just a commercial kitchen we have on site that people can rent out if they are starting a small business or they need a space. And if you're curious about that, there is more information on our website about it. So to start off, I wanted to talk about our food bank a little bit. Like I said, this is probably what we are best known for. Our food bank is open 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We recently transitioned to an in-person grocery store style shopping model. So what that looks like is people make an appointment or they come in during distribution hours and they get a shopping cart and they walk around the food bank and select what they want. This is pretty new for us, and it is fairly new for food banks in general, but it is a great way for us to empower our clients and our customers to be able to choose whatever they want, whatever they need. We have limits posted on dry goods and canned goods, but for the most part, it's not an issue. Like people taking too much is not an issue, and people take what they need. And if they have questions or concerns, they can ask us, and it's been working really well. We've been doing it since July. So about 3 or 4 months in. We serve on average 100 to 150 families a week. And I wanted to highlight our produce. We are really lucky. Our food bank has access to fresh produce almost every week. It seems like we're typically pretty well stocked. And the great thing about our produce at the food bank is we don't have any limits on it. We usually have enough that people can just take whatever they'd like. And we also have the ability to source a lot of this from local growers. We have a big grant called the Farm to Food Pantry, which allows us to purchase directly from local farmers and bring it into our food bank. We also get a lot of donations from the community, from their gardens, from their fruit trees, and then we also get food from our community gardens, and those go out in the food bank as well, depending on what we have at the moment. So that brings us into talking about the gardens and hydroponics, which is what most of my energy goes into. So we have 4 plots down at Koppel Farm, which is one of the community gardens in Pullman. They're 20 by 20 foot plots that the Koppel board donates to Community Action Center, which is great. We don't have to pay anything to have them. We just manage them to our needs. And next year, they're going to give us one more that ended up being abandoned this year. So we're going to have 5 total plots down there at Koppel Farm. We also have some teaching and learning spaces up at our office. These are in the process of getting revamped, but we will have some raised beds and we have a little pergola area. So in the future, hopefully we'll be conducting some classes and have some learning opportunities at our office for our clients. And the last thing to touch on for our spaces is our greenhouse that is coming. We just got some funding to add a greenhouse to our setup, which will kind of push our garden program to the next level. It's going to be very exciting, and I'm going to talk about that a bit more. So this year, I apologize, these pictures are a little bit blurry, but I just wanted to touch on kind of how it went. We grew 22 types of produce. This included a whole array of things from tomatoes and cucumbers to bok choy and beans, squash, a little bit of everything. This year was very much a trial run of what do people want, what don't we get a lot of in the food bank, and just kind of testing out what does well and what doesn't. The gardens very much need volunteers to run, I'm the only staff member at CAC that works in the gardens, so volunteers are critical to keeping up with all those spaces. And we had about over 100 hours of volunteers down in the gardens this year, which is, it looks like a whole array of things. You know, sometimes we'll have large groups that want to give their time, like a fraternity or a sorority, and they'll come and work for a few hours. But it also looks like volunteers that come week after week and they help with whatever project I may have at the time. Thus far, we have harvested 528 pounds of produce, and it is still continuing to rise. Not everything is completely finished up, although the season is definitely coming to an end. And poundage feels like a weird way to quantify the impact that the gardens had, right? Because we grew things like kale and spinach, and that isn't going to weigh a lot, but it has a high nutritional value in our food bank. So next year, I'm going to think a little bit about a better way to, track the impact of the gardens. And I calculated out that garden produce was available at about 64 distribution days this year. So the first harvest started at the end of June. And like I said, it's still going. And maybe there was only one bag of beans available, but the garden was represented at about 64 distribution days this year. And moving forward for the gardens, we have some pretty big goals. I came on staff in March of this year. So like I mentioned, this was very much a learning year for our programs. And next year, looking ahead, these are some of the goals that I'm thinking about for the program. One of the big ones is growing more culturally relevant foods. As everyone here knows, the universities in Moscow and Pullman bring a lot of diverse people into our region. At the food bank, we serve clients from all around the world. I was thinking about it a little bit today, and I think there might be someone almost from every continent. We have clients from Nigeria, from Korea, from Russia, Mexico, all over the place, and we have an increased need to bring more culturally relevant foods into the food bank. So some of those things next year might look like tomatillos or more hot chilies or Asian greens and bok choy. So I'm trying to talk with our clients a little more and see what kind of things they want, what kinds of things they can't get, and see if we can fill that need by growing it in our garden space. Another one of our really big goals for next year is increasing our seedling production, our starts. We grew all of the starts that we needed for our plots in our hydroponic system as a little bit of a makeshift greenhouse, but with the addition of a greenhouse to our garden program, we should be able to ramp up that our seed starting, a lot. I don't know a better way to say that. But the main reason we want to do this is being able to give more starts out to our clients. We purchased some starts this year from growers with our Farm to Food Pantry grant, and our clients loved it, being able to bring tomatoes home to grow or herbs and flowers. So we want to have a supply coming from our garden program that we can give out at the food bank. We also want to be able to sell those starts as a fundraiser for our garden program and as a fundraiser to give back to the Koppel board. Like I mentioned, they donate those plots to us. So part of this partnership would be growing these additional starts and selling them at their spring fair and being able to give them some money to support the community garden. And with the addition of a greenhouse, we want to be able to extend our growing season. Even just a few extra weeks in the spring and a few extra weeks in the fall would, be able to help push the number of days that our community garden produce is available in the food bank. And we also want to engage the community more in our gardens. So we did a lot with volunteers this year, and that was one part of engaging the community. But moving forward, we really want to start offering more class opportunities to engage with our clients and to engage with community members. And like I've kind of already mentioned, with the gardens, we want to explore more fundraising opportunities, whether it be the seedlings and the vegetable starts, like I already discussed, or maybe it looks like cut flower arrangements that we sell as a little way to make extra money for our programs. And that brings me into talking about our hydroponics. This is something that's taken a little bit of a back burner while I have been focused on the garden through the growing season. But now that the garden plots are kind of winding down, this will be able to take more of my focus through the winter. But we have a hydroponic setup at our office space. This was designed by our director to use in his house, and it ended up at the agency. And then we had some other tanks built by volunteers in the past. And now we are in the process of upgrading our system so that it is a little bit more functional. So we have 6 20-gallon tanks, which are what you can see in the top pictures there. Those hold 24 plants each. And then we have 8 more 10-gallon tanks, which hold 12 plants. So that gives us 240 slots for production, or, we could have 240 heads of lettuce growing at once. And up to this point, we've been primarily using these tanks to grow greens like lettuce and Swiss chard. But I'm hoping that we can expand a little bit. So like I said, lettuce mixes and Swiss chard are what we've grown so far. But next up, we're going to be trying some kale and spinach and then herb varieties. So that way we can have those in the food bank all winter, even when typical production might stop. And that moves us into the mobile farm stand, which originated from the Palouse Tables project on the move, which was a huge assessment that took place a few years ago. November 2017 to December of 2018 was the dates I found in the plan. This was a comprehensive map of the food system of the Palouse. So my predecessors did a big look at the Palouse, and it is important to note that this includes Whitman and Latah County, and they tried to figure out what our food system looked like, and basically realized that the mobile farm stand could help bridge some gaps. And it's important to note that food insecurity is significantly higher in Whitman and Latah County than national averages. Whitman County is 18% and Latah County is 17%, whereas the national average is about 12.5%. And a lot of that, I think I have it on the next slide, is because there are these significant barriers to nutrition in rural small towns. We know the Palouse, it's very hard to get from one side of it to the other. There's long distances, high gas prices, and a lot of these communities are existing in food deserts where there's no grocery store, or maybe there's a convenience store, but it has incredibly high prices and they probably are not stocked with fresh local produce. So, like I mentioned, food insecurity is high in this area, and we saw an opportunity to connect our local growers, which we have a lot of, and low-income residents who might not be able to access local fresh food. So I saw a couple messages in the chat, but I'm guessing since Kathy hasn't interrupted me, maybe the questions can wait till the end.
I'll go ahead. It was a question actually about the hydroponics.
Sure.
And how long does it take to grow the greens or lettuce to a usable size?
It took I'm trying to remember. I think it took about 6 weeks. But I haven't been keeping great track. I harvested at least twice, maybe 3 times on the lettuce that I was growing. And the first harvest probably took place at about 6 weeks. And then the second harvest, maybe 2 weeks later. But that was me being I was definitely neglecting the tanks. So with a little bit of extra care, it probably could have been sped up a little bit. I kind of whizzed past it, but the tanks are very basic. There's no like water pump system. The water is just in a stagnant tank with fertilizer in the water, and it's very basic. The water gets changed like halfway through the plant growth cycle, and then you just put a whole new thing of water in. So there's a lot of work to be done to upgrade that system and make it a little bit more functional. But right now, it's just kind of doing a good job without needing a lot of extra work.
Yeah, it sounds like a great way to get a whole bunch of greens, and kudos for working on that. Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Yes, yeah, we have several funding sources to upgrade that. So that is kind of my next big project, to get all of that up and running at full capacity, have every tank full, ideally all the time, so we can be harvesting lettuce or greens or herbs every week, and just have it on a rotating basis. So there's always something coming out of the hydroponic tanks.
Okay, well, good. Thank you. I'll let you get back to talking about your topic, because I think a lot of people don't recognize the income issues in our counties, and that is a big, important, sort of hidden issue, perhaps.
Yeah, it definitely goes a little bit unnoticed. That is why this project happened, and that's why they did that Palouse tables assessment, because it's not obvious, right? You're not seeing it all the time. And one thing that I thought about a lot when I was researching to make this presentation is that food insecurity is not, it's not, it's hard to see. It's not just people starving. It is wondering where your next meal is coming from, or making sure you're getting all of the nutrients that you need. And that's why food insecurity is a little bit different than just poverty. And this map on the left-hand side here gives a really good example of this drastic difference in the Palouse region of income. And we have regions where people are making less than $20,000, right next to regions where people are making 6 figures on average. So that's why this project exists. And one more short little video. This one is new. It's very cute, but it shows the mobile farm stand, and gives a good overview of what I'm about to talk about. And if you've never heard of the mobile farm stand or see it, this helps you understand the whole picture. I'm going to show this really quick, and then I'm done showing videos. Like I said, I think it gives a really good overview of start to finish what the mobile farm stand looks like. And I wanted to highlight some of the original project goals that were established from the Spaloose Tables project on the move and the grant that was applied to when we did this project. So the original goals were to meet the food needs for 7,200 residents and increase the variety, quantity, and access to produce for low-income rural residents. And we wanted to do this by sourcing produce from local, small, and new farmers whenever possible. We wanted to be making those connections with our local growers, not just buying produce from the grocery store and bringing it out to different sites. And another part of this program was education. And we do that by providing samples and recipes for new foods. This picture on the right-hand side shows an example of that. So at this particular farm stand, we did a peanut sauce. We had a bunch of bok choy at this stand. So we were offering the peanut sauce with the bok choy as a great way to make a stir fry. We also had rhubarb, so we made these rhubars, like a rhubarb crisp. And then we had a ton of potatoes, so we gave out a potato salad recipe as well. And that brings us to where the project is now. So this started last year. There was an AmeriCorps member who was running it last season, and it was still very much in its infancy. But this year, I would say the project has gotten pushed a little bit closer to some of those goals. So to kind of explain exactly what it is a pay what you can farm stand. Like you saw in the video, we're bringing fresh produce to food desert areas. And we purchase this produce from local farmers whenever we can. We work with several different ones around Whitman County and hopefully in Latah County soon. And the goal of the project was to have like bi-weekly or monthly routes that we rotate. We want it to be an established schedule so people can come to rely on it being there, every other week on a Friday or something. But at the moment, we're not really operating at that full capacity, but that will be the goal in the future. And like I said, we also try to offer additional items like recipes, food samples. We've done herb kits, we've done vegetable starts, and these pictures on the left kind of show examples of what that looks like. The different things we're offering. The upper left-hand corner, we had lots of tomato starts that were left over from our gardens. And then we put together these herb growing kits that included soil and seeds and instructions so people could take them home and do it themselves. And then that picture is our lovely van that we take out with us to the sites. So just a few of the numbers from this past year, October of 2021 to September of 2022. We've served 1,225 people through the farm stand. We've worked with 7 local farmers. This includes Runner Bean Ranch, the WSU Organic Farm, Smoot's Flavor Farm, Omachi, and several others. Tona Maker, I can't think of the others off the top of my head, but 7 total farmers. We've been to 12 different sites. Several of them, 6 of them were in Pullman, but we've also been to Endicott, Tico, Albion, Potlatch. And again, we're trying to expand these. We want to be hitting those more rural sites. We just haven't been able to yet. We've had 34 farm stands, distributed over 40 types of produce and 2,831 pounds, which is pretty crazy to think about, considering, we're just off operating on a pretty skeleton crew right now. It's crazy to think that much food going out. And I wanted to just include some more pictures of what it looks like. Even with a video and even with me talking about it, sometimes it feels a little bit complex. So here's just a few more pictures of what those stands look like. On the upper left-hand corner, this is at one of our apartment complexes doing a mobile farm stand, people choosing what they want. At a lot of our sites, we don't put out any sort of suggested donation. We just want people to take the produce. So, if it's free, people take as much as they want. They take bags, they load up. We don't want people to feel like because they can't make a donation, they can't take anything. So we don't advertise any pricing. We just encourage people to take as much as they need. The top picture there was when we partnered with the Pullman School District free lunch program. So school-age kids were going and getting a free lunch throughout the summer. And we brought our mobile farm stand out to a few of those and gave away extra kids snacks and produce that kids might like. And then, their parents were there too, and their parents could bring home some extra produce for dinner that night. Moving around in a clockwise rotation here, upper right-hand corner just shows again some of our samples and our recipes that we try to hand out whenever we can. Then we have some beautiful Swiss chard that a community member has been donating to us. And then to the left there is a farm stand at the Koppel Spring Fair, which was one of our sites that we were able to make a little bit of money from donations because it was more of a fundraising opportunity for us. And then again, just two more examples of what the setup looks like when we are out there, the bottom left-hand pictures there. And then to touch on some future goals of what the program is going to look like. To make this work long-term, which is what we want this to be able to continue into the future, we need to figure out how we are going to fund the program sustainably long-term. Right now, we are halfway through a 4-year grant that gives us money for all these startup costs, and it helps purchase our produce. But when that money runs out, we need a way to continue buying produce or continue having produce for the farm stands. So some of the ways we want to be able to do that is being able to process EBT and credit cards on site, and then also going to different high income locations where we can get extra donations to offset sites where we might not get any donations. So when the project was originally thought of, it looked like going to maybe a hospital on the lunch break, and people might donate extra, and that helps fund the sites that week where we won't get any donations. We also need to establish a community ambassador program, which means we are setting up an ambassador for each town that we visit to help us understand what that community wants. This is a community member that is serving as our connection point into that community. They can help establish the best days and times that we go to site. They can set up a location for us. And they can tell us what people in the community want. Because if people in this town don't want kale, we don't want to be purchasing $100 worth of kale and bringing it out there and nobody wants it. So that is what the ambassador program is going to look like when we get that all set up. We also need to renovate a trailer that we have, an 18-foot trailer, enclosed trailer, that we're going to turn into our our farm stand, have some sort of fold down window that we can help serve people out of, keep it refrigerated better, and then allow us to go on longer routes. Right now with our van setup, we can only really hit one town at a time just because it is pretty small and that's all that we can fit in there. But if we get this trailer set up and running, we would be able to hit multiple towns in one day and save us gas money instead of going out and coming back, going out and coming back. So renovating the trailer is in the works so that we can do extended routes. We also need to connect with additional growers. We really don't have a ton of connections right now. There were a few moments this season where we couldn't source enough produce for all the stands. So like I mentioned earlier, we need to connect with growers in Latah County that can sell to us or donate to us. So that way we can continue to have more and more farm stands. There's also potential for gleaning to help offset costs. Right now, we just purchase the same produce that's available to anyone, and we just pay, whatever the going rate is. But if we were to do some gleaning, we could offset our costs a little bit. And last, but certainly not least, is hiring someone full-time to run this. The mobile farm stand is about 20 to 30% of my job right now, which needs to go down a lot so that I can focus on the gardens. But we have been struggling to find someone who is excited and passionate about taking on the mobile farm stand and running it to its full potential. So this is just my little plug. If you or someone you know is looking for a job that we are trying to hire for this position. And that is my presentation. That is everything that I have to talk about related to community food. I have all my contact information on here, as well as our website, which has a lot of good information on there. It has the Palouse Tables Project full report, which is a really interesting read if you want to know more about food insecurity in Latah and Whitman County. And then that's also our Instagram handle on there if you want to follow the mobile farm stand and see where it goes. I do not run the Instagram, but our food bank staff member that does is pretty good about posting where the mobile farm stand is going to be, and then promoting our food bank a little bit. So that is everything. And now I guess it's time for questions. Okay, I've got the chat pulled up here. So it looks like Susan asked, what is your favorite part of running this program? That is a great question. I'm not sure if you're asking about the mobile farm stand specifically, or the gardens, or the hydroponics. But
basically anything that you think is your favorite part. I can tell that you're passionate about this. So, you know, whatever you would like to talk about is, or either that or any, special surprises or different things you found while running this that are something that's kind of interesting.
Yes, I am definitely very passionate about this. I often feel like my passion is running far away from my actual ability to do all of it. That's why I want someone to come take the mobile farm stand position, because my favorite part is getting to do something new every day with this program, whether it's finding something new we're going to try out in the garden, growing something different that I've never even heard of. I have to admit that I didn't even know what a tomatillo was until this year. And then I went, oh my gosh, these are amazing. Why haven't I been growing them? So my favorite part is just the constant change and all these new problems and solutions that are constantly coming and going. And it helps keep my passion on fire. I'm very excited about all these different programs and the impact that we make, and I get to go out to the communities and I get to talk to people and hear what they like and hear how we can help them better. So it's all my favorite. Sorry that I can't give you a direct answer.
Here's another question for you, Claire.
Yes.
You mentioned trying to bring in some Latah County growers, and whether the growers from Latah or Whitman or another county, what types of products are you hoping to expand into?
That is a great question, and I meant to go into this a little bit. I'm glad you brought it up. So with our funding right now, it is a little bit tricky to purchase things other than produce. I think the term is value added. We are not able to purchase things that are considered value added. So like honey is one of those. Wool products are one of those. So there are a few things that we are not allowed to purchase with our funding. But we have a constant need to find more growers that can just meet our produce demands. And then there are, I might be incorrect, but I believe we might be able to purchase eggs as long as they go through, if they have like an egg handler license. This is a little bit beyond what I know, but I know in the food bank, we are unable to purchase eggs unless there is a specific license from the grower to sell the eggs commercially. So that is something that we could potentially expand into. But yeah, just mostly more produce until we have our own funding to purchase maybe those value added items. It would be wonderful to have other products available at the farm stands. We just don't have the ability to purchase them with our funding at the moment.
So you'd be up for some donations, it sounds like, in terms of like donating items.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe not eggs and yeah, you get into that gets into, both states have different regulations too. So that's an important question. I wanted to say there was a message in the chat to thank you for your presentation and for doing all of this work and to keep up the amazing work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And there's another question is, what's the most popular produce that you moved since you've been on?
Yeah, I see that question is from Guy Spencer.
Yeah.
And, I think he would be happy to hear that okra was really popular. It was funny, Guy was kind of like, oh, are you sure you want to buy okra? People, they either love it or they hate it. And people loved it. One of our funniest mobile farm stand stories came from the okra. When we were out in Potlatch, someone came up to the stand and they were kind of questioning us about what we were doing and, blah, blah, blah. And she was really hesitant about wanting to take anything. And then she saw that we had okra and she went, oh, I love okra and I can't grow it. And she took the whole basket and she put it in her bag and she walked away and she said, oh, I just love okra so much. And it just made us chuckle because it is, it's free. We can't stop her from taking it. We want it to go to people. But it had been moving really well. People had really liked the okra. And then this lady loved it so much that she took all of it. But besides the okra, I would say tomatoes have been incredibly popular and garlic, because garlic is very expensive, come to find out, and people love getting fresh garlic. So okra, tomatoes, garlic, top hits.
So not so much kale, huh?
A lot of people do like kale, and normally we can give away all the kale and Swiss chard, surprisingly, but it's just one of those very divisive foods. People really do love it, or they really turn up their nose at it. So just depends on the crowd.
Okay, and are there other questions out among our group here? You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Subia. I can't do the chat thing with my technology, but how would a community in Latah County go about getting added to your fruit for next year? I mean, if there was a community, how do you make your connections? I mean, how did you get hooked up with going to Potlatch? How would another community be able to organize and say, we want you to bring your van, we want you to bring your mobile farm stand to our community twice a month? How would we do that?
Yeah, well, if there was already, some sort of quote unquote ambassador established who is going to help with, creating the site and establishing a time, that helps us out tremendously. It takes one step off of our plate. It gives us a place to be and when to be there. So that community should just connect with us, connect with me, connect with CAC in general, and we can figure out a way to get there. I don't actually remember exactly how we connected with Potlatch. I think someone already knew someone from the Potlatch Food Bank, and it got brought up and we were able to connect. And that's a really easy site for us to be able to go to because they already have an established distribution time and day, and we just tag on to it. It's a lot easier for us if the date and time and connection has already been set in place. So if there is a food bank in the area, or if there's an ambassador that can help us connect there, it'll be really easy for us to add that to our list and showing us that there's interest there. And I want to make it clear that we aren't going, we're not going to places because we don't want to serve them. We just really haven't been able to do it. We just have a few staff members that are doing this part-time, and we really want someone who can come and do it full-time, and then we can hit all these communities that need it, all the communities that want it, and be there consistently and regularly. So long answer, but just connect with me and we'll figure out a way to get it there.
If you want to post, you could post the ad for the job position on the Sustainable Ag Listserv, which goes through the Rural Roots website. So that if you haven't posted it on the Sustainable Ag Listserv, but you might find somebody who is passionate by that route, by somebody who's tracking sustainable ag-related things.
Okay, great. I am writing that down right now. You're gonna put it on there. I know we've been...
And I know Susan's listening, and Susan Flugel is listening, and she runs our website, and so she could put it on our website if you send her the information also.
Definitely. Yes, I will do that.
Yes, I'd be happy to put it on the website to see if we can reach more people for you.
Perfect. Thank you. I was thinking that might happen if I just tell the right people about the job, they'll be able to connect me with someone who might be interested.
Yeah, and do you have a job description ready to go, or is this coming in the future?
Yes, I don't have it off the top of my head, but we do have it posted and I can get you.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it is posted.
It's current and live, so to speak.
To my
Cool.
knowledge, unless for some reason it got taken down. We've had it up, we've taken it down, we've had it up, we've taken it down, but there is a job description. We are actively interviewing candidates, but it's kind of a challenging position to find the right person to do it. Because you really do need a lot of passion, in my opinion, to be able to do the job to the full potential.
Yeah, for one thing, besides being able to safely drive a van, you also need to be able to like both people and vegetables.
Yeah.
And some of us might like one, or the other better than the other.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, you need to be able to drive a van and in the future drive a big truck with a big trailer, and you need to be comfortable going all over the place, and you need to be able to talk to farmers and talk to community members and talk about produce. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tricky place to be. When I originally applied for this job, I was like, of course, anyone would love to do this. It's so much fun talking about produce and plants, and oh, what a dream. No one else has that dream apparently, because no one else is applying for this job.
Probably not no one else, but I totally appreciate your passion. And you had mentioned that there's lots of opportunities to volunteer. And while having a coordinator for this whole program is probably beyond a volunteer position, what types of volunteer opportunities would you like to throw out there for people to consider, whether it's, through, year round or next spring when produce time starts up?
Yeah, there's a lot. where I'm trying to figure out where I even want to start. So we'll start with the mobile farm stand, since that's what we were talking about last. First of all, this ambassador is kind of a volunteer and also kind of a paid position. We have a little bit of funding in the grant to pay this person a little bit of money to help us out. It's not very much, and it's definitely not a salary or anything, but that is a big volunteer opportunity, to be the person that is connecting us with this small town and being our jumping off point. So that is one. Another opportunity with the mobile farm stand is helping. We haven't been really using volunteers with the mobile farm stand, but we could use volunteers potentially to help pick up produce from growers or to help sort and organize produce. We often have to repackage items before they can go out. Some things we offer loose, but some things like loose lettuce have to all be rebagged before we go out on site. So that is a potential place for a volunteer to come in and help with that for an hour or two. And then our gardens and hydroponics use a lot of volunteers in the gardens, lots of weeding, but also helping with other activities. There's fencing projects, there's building projects, harvesting, and then hydroponics, when that's up and running, a volunteer could be useful to help with the water changes, help with harvesting in there. There is essentially an endless number of volunteer opportunities if you have time that you would like to donate, because not only in all of these programs, but our food bank also uses volunteers. So there's a lot of information about volunteering on our website, or you can just get in contact with me through my email there, but there is a lot of information about volunteering if you go to our cacwhitman.org website.
Hey, thank you, Claire. This has been an awesome presentation, and I love seeing your passion. We are at, or actually past 7 o'clock. I suppose if there's any burning questions, we could still add those in, but I want to let people know what time it is.
I have a quick comment. I have a quick comment, Kathy. This is Sylvia. I just wanted to say that there might be ways of a little brainstorming to rural roots and Latah County Extension. Between the two of us might be able to hook you up with more growers in Latah County.
Yes,
So
that
we
would
ought to
be
be in touch.
incredibly helpful.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I'm going to stop our recording. I will let people stay on if they would like to.